Alright, good afternoon. So today we are sort of just hitting the list at whatever angle we can. I did some work this morning and I started with, basically we did the new artifact setup. So I can kind of I can't wait to delete this off my to-do list because it's sort of getting messy, but actually it's getting quite short now, so that's good. We filled in all the procs and outcomes. So on my artifacts script, I went through and just added all of these and described them. So we've got this, and this isn't going to be complete. We're going to have to sort out a lot of the exclusion lists. That's the main one that's going to be require a bit of doing. Some of them are easy to figure out, like vengeful and actually killer would not be giving heal, buff, or armor. Actually, it could, I suppose. So it's an interesting thing. I might need to tidy up the way that we execute an artifact and just make sure that every time we're asking for this artifact proc, every time that we're running an artifact, that we're clear on who is the subject character, who is the object character. So, and then we might need to just write in a few noodly exceptions. Basically, we might need a little bit of spaghetti in that code to make it work. But basically, at some point, we're going to go through each artifact and just make sure it works. And as we do that, we'll sort of straighten everything out. That's going to be a very brainy work. That's probably tomorrow's work, actually, to just go through each artifact. But let's see. The main thing I want to do right now is just sort out my to-do list and make it nice and neat and tidy, because it's a bit overwhelming on the brain. So I need to just kind of organize my tasks because we're getting really close, and I think that has an effect of making you a bit sort of scared to proceed in a way, if that makes sense. You sort of end up actually I've kind of done it. All I need to do now is the hard part of testing it and fixing all the little bugs and glitches and stuff. Before I forget, there was an extra job here that I didn't list, which was sorting out the orc sprite sheet because I had re-exported it, and I exported it without the right column number, so I just had to sort that out. It wasn't too difficult. So if you see the video that I posted I think yesterday, the Army of Survivors footage in the background of that, the B-roll has some of the characters just don't make sense. Some of them are even invisible, so that's fixed now. Right click to close skill trees. Yeah, we did that. So just simple from the artifact UI. From the base manager. If we right click and the building panel is open, then we close it. Nice and simple. It just feels natural that I would right click to exit that menu. Updated the executable icon. So that's nice. So even though the demo for Army of Survivors, if you played the demo of Army of Survivors, the executable icon would be war beans. So we fixed that simple one just in the project settings, and just had to sort of export the logo icon that I had to fit the frame better. Ultimate animation shouldn't be interruptible. So we did a bit of spaghetti code for this. Essentially, I gave a character just a busy bool, and if they're busy, then they will not. So if not busy, do the take damage animation, do the heal animation. Otherwise, don't do it. And busy is set to true when we start doing our ultimate, and set to false when we finish doing our ultimate. So hopefully that should mean that you can, because what can happen is you'll be doing your ultimate, the character gets big, the screen goes black and everything, we get a whole bunch of visuals, and then if you get hit during that, it just cancels that animation. It still has the effect, but it just feels a bit bad. So that's handled with a bit of, I guess, spaghetti. It's not too bad. We may use that again in future. Just kind of don't try and override the animation of this character. Might be true, for example, for some cutscenes or stuff. But since it's just this one case, we just have to add a couple lines. Not pretty, but it works. Fix speed multiplier issue. So this is an interesting one. I don't want to have to multiply every time a character moves a little bit. I don't want to have to multiply that by a speed multiplier. That just feels bad. But actually, there was no real way around it. If I was to fix, so we ended up putting that back. We have a speed multiplier now, and that's what the frozen and electrified buffs affect. Let me just double check that I actually did that. So yeah, speed X. So what that should mean is we slow right down when we're electrified. We slow down a little bit when we're frosted, but it does mean we have to multiply by speed every frame on every character. When ideally the real way to fix this would be to fix the buff system, because at the moment it's set up that a buff has a value and it can have a number of stats, and all the stats are done by that value, right? So if we were to bring speed from 6, which is the average, the normal, to say 1 or 4, we would have to make that value 2 or 4, and this would be, then the attack speed would just be ridiculously low. And also you could go into the negatives, so yeah, we're just going to use this speed multiplier, and hopefully that works. Well, yeah, I'm sure it'll work. It's just it's not going to be super optimal. Should be fine though. It's not a big deal. Multiplying by a speed multiplier, that's very common. It's just, yeah, it's, you know, could be cleaner, but there we go. Yeah, I've decided against. So yeah, that's that. There was a issue where shields, if let's say you equip a sword and then you combine that sword into something else and then you equip a shield, that shield will come in upside down until the player moves it. And I looked at that, and it looks like I've done everything I can to stop that. So I am just going to wait and see if it happens again, basically. That's a very much bug swept under the rug. Like, if I didn't, you know, if I see it again, I'll fix it again. But I might have already fixed it. It's a problem with not always logging bug fixes, is that you're never sure whether you fixed it or not. That's just, yeah, I mean, organization. Decided against rarities for artifacts. I just think while it's fun to see that sort of gold or that red or that purple or whatever, ultimately, let's close views. Ultimately, like, the rarity should come in the combos. So we've gotten rid of this idea of making sure you get combos which synergize with what you already have. Hello. And we're, I don't think they can see you. And we, yeah, so we just decided against that. No rarities. Like, it's not essential to the game. In fact, I think it's better without. I think a lot of the time people think, oh, yeah, let's have rarities to everything because it's more fun. But actually, I think, like, the luck is in getting the right sequence of things. It's not just getting the good things. So we have chests that have rarities because that meant to be that moment of kind of chaos and fun where you could get 5 things, you could get 1, but yeah. So the big thing that's going to happen is as we test these artifacts, we're going to have to kind of go through each one and find that the ones that aren't covered by my existing system, and some of the cases where some of the outcomes and the procs will just not match, or they won't be targeting the correct character. I mean, I could probably do it without testing, but I feel it just makes sense to just go through, create like a system where I can easily test artifacts and sort of fix the problems as I see them. And then we've done this thing where now when at 5 minutes, instead of a looter spawning that drops lots of loot, actually it will be the enemy hero that you've chosen, because I want that to kind of be a feature, adds a bit more character, and also they can do a little bit of like randomly generated or just kind of reused dialogue, which will just go some way to help to hide the loading screen a bit. So that should be fun. Those are going to be very brainy and interesting and tricky. But you know, it's already after lunch and I'm a bit like, so we'll see. I think this, yeah, that'll come down to testing, and I'll want to play the game and I'll fix those. So yeah. So yeah, we'll have to go through those. And then, yeah, we're going to add this cutscene once we're confirmed that this is working. So basically, we do need to test the game. I have set this to happen at 3 seconds. And of course, as we get our first artifacts, and I've made a way to just give me an artifact. We're just going to want to test that. And I guess it's maybe it's not too prudent, but generally what I like to do is press play rather than kind of try and anticipate every problem that might happen. It's just to start playing it, and then I'll see a problem and then I'll fix things in stacks. But what I want to do now is sort out my to-do list so that I'm clear on what's happening next. So this is likely tomorrow's stuff, but we'll see how far we get today. And then this would also be like tomorrow's stuff. Okay, visuals. Every hero should have a serious face to be used at character select and on ultimate. Yeah, that is a good thing to do. So basically that will entail making a list. So each character will now need 2 sprites, or the hero will require 2 sprites. Like a speaking sprite. I'm not going to do more than 1 speaking sprite per character. They're going to use it when they do their ultimate, and they're going to use it when they're chatting. So we just need... And I think it's fine if their speaking face is also kind of their like shocked face. Everyone's always a bit intense. I don't know. We'll see. We'll just open their mouths and maybe do a little for their eyes, or maybe just open their mouths and it'll be fine. So that's another job that's a big one. Today, this morning, I was finishing what I did with artifacts and otherwise dealing with those little bugs quality of life things that I spoke about earlier. And then I'm kind of like trying to see what other low-hanging fruit I can get. Orc skill trees is way down the line. SFX is for a day when I've really got nothing, because I don't like doing SFX because I can't really stream while doing it because I have to listen, and I can't watch anything on YouTube while I do it because I have to listen, and so it's it's a bit of a pain, bit annoying, but I tend to sort of just smash through these in a day. This might even be half a day that I just go through, make sure, and just address my own feedback about sound effects. Orc skill trees will come later. One thing that we do need to add is, and think about, is, finish up human skill trees. So we've got them designed. I just need to create the UI for that. But then that's where I get into a bit of a head spin, because before I do that, it's like the way I'm going to do it is probably going to work for how do I mean? If I change the UI, it's probably not going to change what I do. So let me just explain what I'm talking about. So we go scenes. We go base. That's probably easier just to show it in the scene. So we got our skill trees, and and there's a bunch of icons on there. You click them, it unlocks that skill, and so on. It unlocks that permanent unlock. Let's just show it. But before I kind of fill out that UI, I ought to make sure that the UI design is final, or at least close enough to. So it kind of stops me in my tracks there. So I need to think about that, which is why I'm kind of like, okay, let's just do everything else first. SFX will keep coming up, so that can stay like firmly at the bottom. These optimization issues, well, we don't actually have too many problems with optimization. The game is optimized quite fine, but let me just switch to a non-physics method has the potential of really improving the optimization or not at all. I've heard that basically the Unity physics method, the Unity physics engine, like if you tell a character to move, or you tell the physics object to move, or like if you have collisions, as in like the Unity's way of handling collisions is not going to be more expensive than if you were to write your own one to say, if I'm too close to another enemy, then move away, or another unit, then sort of nudge away from it. It's kind of a lot of work for maybe I don't know how good the reward will be. use object pooling for chain effects. I think that's one we can attack. So chain effects. Yeah. So we need to engage brain now. So we have chain effect, which is these. These are the little bits that appear between units during chain lightning, chain heal, or the undead, which is simply called chain, where a chain appears between. And these are handled by the object pool. We have destroy after, but that should be turn to pool after. 0.5. And so I think I'll remove that. And is that the case for these two as well? I'm going to make a folder called chain effects so that we're clear on which are and which aren't. Chain effects. So we should probably do the same here then, basically. Because we do have a pool handler. So yeah, we'll do return to pool after 0.5. Just half a second, we remove that. And I'll just copy this, and then we just got one more to do it on, I guess. Hold on, do they need an audio source? I'm not sure. Okay, we'll see. I don't think these need an audio source. I'm going to remove it. See what happens, because it shouldn't be. We shouldn't be using that as an audio source. There is no audio. The audio, we don't audio per chain that happens, basically. Okay. Yeah, so that should be nice and clear. Okay, and then we're going to look in chain effect. We're just going to find this throughout the project. Shouldn't be too many. So we've got where we set them up. And then we've got the names of them again where we set them up. Okay, so here we're instantiating, right? And what I want to do, and I'm just going up to find where we've gotten the pool. So for a magic attack, we make AoE effect, so that's another step. For a projectile, we go gm.c.getPooledObject. Okay, so I think that this might be as simple as replacing that line. So it would be chain effect equals getPooledObject weapon.chain effect. Right? And then, before I forget, actually, let's finish this. So, and then we're going to want to, I don't know what quaternion is about because we shouldn't be identity. What is quaternion identity? This was originally made way back when I was using ChatGPT and Grok to help me code, but that was a mistake. Identity rotation, I don't understand. So let's just say we left that, because I think we are already rotating. And then, so then we would just need to say chain effect equals that. And we need to say chain effect dot transform dot position equals start pos. Okay. There's actually, sadly, and you're going to see how awful a programmer I am. Sadly, there's a few instances of this in the code, and we're going to have to go through each of them. So that's weapon container, player controller. So this is when it happens for the hero, because it was easier for me to just copy and paste than it was for me to set up a condition where the weapon container would fire that code. Maybe there was a way, but I couldn't see it. And here's another one What's for this one? For Spark of Life, which is a specific talent where every attack you do has the chain effect. And that would be weapons dot get weapon. There we go. That should do it. And then what we're going to see, potentially, is when I try and use any of these things, it's going to bug out. It's going to go wrong. That's generally what we expect to see. But I can take that off the list and then call that a bug, basically, if it comes up. Set audio volumes on instantiate and update them on change volume. Again, I think this is one of those ones where that would be a good practice. So what am I talking about? Whenever we play a sound, we are multiplying the volume of that sound by the master volume and the SFX volume that the player has set up. When what I should do is just set the volume of all of our audio players, our audio sources, whenever we change the thing. And the thing is, that is going to be tricky to code. What's wrong with this? Yeah, that's fine. That is going to be tricky to code. So we basically, when we change volume, we would have to go through each audio source that corresponds to that type. So we'd say, find me all the sound effect audio sources, and some of them might be switched off as pulled objects. Some of them might actually be instantiated, and say, and then when we play, we don't affect the volume. You know, the thing is, I think it is just so minor. It does happen a fair bit, but we're not like, this is not crucial. Like, the game is optimized fine. That's the other thing. It's like, because the game is optimized fine, these all are quite low priority. In fact, they might just be, things to worry about later. And I don't think they will affect the game too much. Make Cloud Mover a central controller. Again, that's such a minor thing. There's about like maybe up to 50 clouds in a scene that each have their own script that moves the cloud along. And I've since become a better programmer and understood that instead of having each one with a script with an update method, it would be better to have a central controller that has a list of all the clouds and moves them each according to their bits. But that is a luxury. I'm going to keep it there. And since we have buffs for each passive stat... Oh, this is a good one, actually. So, however, again, it's just... because we're using buffs for like passive talent things, because we have to go through each buff to make them tick down if they're not permanent. That's just not optimized. But again, that's like later. Translate is later. What I'm really keen to do is kind of play the game and start doing the story and start upgrading the humans and just kind of making that work. Make lightning good against armor, ice neutral, and fire weak against armor. I think that's cool, and I can see why I thought about it. But this is not a strategy game. There's not much you can actually do for that. The outcome will just be that, I guess if I'm playing against the demons who use a lot of fire, if I'm playing against the orcs or the humans who also use fire, then armor's really good, but then armor is not particularly good against... I think while it's cool, I don't think it makes sense for the game, sadly. A little bit of rock, paper, scissors. So here's what we're doing. We're just going through the list. It kind of sounds like I'm waffling, but this is actually the job. So translate, optimization. These can be really shoved down to the later list. Just as a matter of priority. Demons, undead, color pass, tutorials, tier 3 combos. These all go into sort of, I don't need to concern myself with these right now. Human skill trees, yes. In fact, I've got that down here. That should be up there. Buffs being removed properly from resurrected enemies. I think I'm going to say this is dealt with until we see a problem. Then we've got limit revives to necromancy tokens. I'm going to put that in the sort of undead pack, so that basically once I've cleared everything else and taken a bit of a break, or like refreshed my brain a little bit, I can kind of deal with these tasks together, but they're not currently crucial. And I would say this comes above this, actually getting that content in the game before we go into hardcore optimization and translations. I mean, translations it's just a note to remind me to kind of go through everything, make sure everything's translated, and of course people will tell me if something's not, so I'll be able to fix that. Obviously better it is at launch, but priority. So make talents apply to existing units. See, that would be nice. That actually makes an impact. So when we get a talent, for example, more HP, that doesn't apply until a character is actually spawned. So it's when we spawn in a character, we give them the high HP, but it doesn't apply to the existing units that are alive. I think that's fine. I just kind of like it's not necessarily better that way if it happens immediately. I'm worried about the moment where someone's playing, they get this little boost, and then they say, why isn't that boost on the character that I just got? So yeah, maybe we can do it like that. So first of all, remind myself. So I think it's an apply upgrade. And then we have dagger, shield. Okay, yeah, shield provisions, dagger provisions. Okay. Yeah, so where is apply upgrade? Player dot apply upgrade. And we're going to want the talents. And I think I did actually tidy this up. So I did actually recently make the code for talents much, much better. That's why I'm not seeing this gigantic list that I was expecting to see. I guess I already did some of the good stuff there. So if this is a talent, okay, so if we're removing a buff, if we're removing a talent, remove it. If upgrade is weapon, or if it's a talent, to the hero who's getting the talent, we add the buff associated with that talent. And so the talent has the stat name correct, the stat value correct, and we get that buff. And for these, well, there's only one outlier, the rain of chicken. It creates chickens raining from the sky. Okay, and then we're going to look at this fun thing, which is, I think, in character container. And let's just search rations. Here we go. Oh wait, no, it's not there. Where do we add that? I think it's still in GM. Or did I already fix that? Rations. So where did I have that? Isn't it on spawn? So spawn, so is it spawn character, and apply effects from upgrades. Give the weapons and dagger, grant talent buffs. Okay, so here we have this talent buff being added when the unit is spawned. But what we want to do So there's a couple ways I could do this, and I'm actually leaning towards the sort of more hacky way here. So one way we could do this is we remove this code from here, which adds the buff associated with the talent from the unit. It adds the talent, like the buff associated with the talent, when they're spawned, right? The other way we could do it is when you get the talent, it applies it to everyone. But it should have to also apply it to the deactivated units. But then also when we instantiate units later down the line, we're still going to have to we would have to add it there. So like, oh, when we so let's say you unlock a new unit after having the talent, we would have to make sure that that unit has it too. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to hack this. This is how the sausage gets made, people. I'm going to hack this instead of, and this should already be set up so that if they already have it, we're removing it. You see, we remove the buffs. And then we're adding it again. So in that case, Archer spawns with extra attack speed because of the talent, and then it dies, and then we cycle through the character pool, get back to that Archer again. It doesn't have the talent twice. It doesn't stack onto itself. So, but what we can do is literally, and this is very, 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 very hacky, but simply apply upgrade. And let's go Reign of Chicken just to find that again. So we add the talent, we add the buff to the hero, and then we'll also add it to all active like that, and we've already got the brackets. So container.add buff. Yeah, so basically in the same place where we do it for the hero, we do a for each of all the characters that are actively alive. And I guess we should say if it's not the player. No, hold on a sec. Here's the issue. We have to give it half the value for the allies. It's double the value for the hero. Okay, so that makes sense. And then so it's ally character container.add buff, and that's really simple. Yeah, when we get the upgrade, we give it to all existing units, and we also give it to them at spawn, which is ever so slightly suboptimal, but it will work fine. So where was that? Okay, let's hit what we can. So since we have, so I'm not worried about that, but we'll just keep those just in case I ever did want to claw back a few frames, or in case like I wanted to make a mobile game or something like that. There is space for improvement, but I'm gonna say it's non-essential. And just for now, for my mental headspace is my headspace. I need to just free that up and put it down there. Yeah, Rise and Grind Gamer, thanks for joining again. Kaiden the dog. Yeah, all about the grind. We're solving puzzles, we're making progress, we're adding stuff, we're gaming. Right, so then basically after we've like gotten the stuff working, we should do human skill trees. We should do orc skill trees. And I'm also going to take SFX here and put it down into this like way down here. Unless I really like, and basically I can just claw at that later and say, can I have a moment of doing SFX? So this starts to look quite tidy, right? We've got the addition of third faction, or like, you know, catching up with it, catching up with the fourth faction. We've already made them, but... And then SFX at some point can happen at the end of the game, as long as it's like not bothering me while I'm playing. And then make talents apply to it. So we just did that. Yeah, make it apply to all inactive character containers and then apply it on construct character. Nah, the way we did it is fine. Test and fix orcs versus humans. So that's me saying, like, get to the point where we've sort of exhausted everything we can do up until adding the new factions. And let's trial the story. And I'm really, really excited and keen to see what the game is going to be like when you're not fully upgraded, which is how I play at the moment. So what's it going to be like if you just have archers and soldiers, which you will at the beginning? I think that's going to be fun. And then we need to do a session of making stages, and that is not the same as SFX. I've put some stages into the undead, but we need the bridge and so on. I mean, we're running out of stuff. Human skill trees. So yeah, what did I mean by the human skill trees? Let's go back to that. So if we are in the game... Yeah, I mean, I need to do a UI glow up. But I feel like UI glow up, like I'm just really not in the headspace for that right now. Maybe I do want to do a bit more testing. It's just so overwhelming making a game, like the amount of stuff you have to do, and it's difficult to think about what order to do it in sometimes. Okay, we've got something. Okay, so is artifacts happening before sprites? So let's do script execution order, which is project settings, script execution order, and where do we have art? So artifacts is going to be here because we haven't told it to be anywhere. So I mean, I'm going to go ahead and put sprites. Find sprites in our nice clean folder. Sprites should be before anything else. That's just a rule. Sprites should be happening before anything else. Except, no, not before stuff. So we go like stuff. There we go. And stuff should... So anytime you mess with script execution order, you can end up in a bit of a funk. But if I say we do stuff, then sprites, and then everything else, that should be fine. Yeah. It's not that tricky. I mean, the thing is, it gets mad. And it only gets mad because of, like, inexperience and mistakes. So what that kind of like playing Factorio. So what happens is... Every time I'm making a game, I'm like, oh shit, I could have done this way better. And then I've got two choices. Do I fix that game? Do I like refactor the code entirely so it is correct? Or do I, yeah, okay, so factions. Okay, interesting. So... Is there a problem if artifacts comes after factions? So that's just something we'll have to do. I think that makes sense. So factions. So artifacts should have to come after factions. I don't know why artifact UI is there. Artifacts is dependent on factions. So yeah, I can either like refactor the code so that it's all perfect, or I can just plow on. And there's a balance there because you can spend, and this is what I did with my second game. I spent forever refactoring it without making it much better, and then it like that's my worst game by far. It's called Human Factory. I don't recommend buying it. All my other games, I would say, check it out, but that one, well, it's fine for like a bit, but yeah, it was basically a failed game, and I just spent forever, like 2 years, basically refactoring. I think I learned a lot of how to code, but I realized after that like sometimes you've just got to like embrace the spaghetti. But there's a balance to it, right? Okay, so I might need to put on my UI designer hat, basically, which is not a good hat. It's not my favorite hat, and it doesn't fit me very well. But here we have our town. If we click on one of the actual buildings that has upgrades, we can see that. So here's our upgrade path for the barracks, right? And I think the barracks 2 should depend on attack drills, maybe. But yeah, I can. So I buy these, as you see. Get access to the next one. It's pretty straightforward, right? I can go and get this is quite fun. What was the cheat for currency? C. And this is really fun. I can upgrade the building, and then I really like that. So one of the things I need to do, so that's set up for barracks, but I need to set it up for the other buildings, and I need to finish it for barracks as well. So the question is, do I do that now, or do I wait before I do a UI upgrade? And what level of UI upgrade would basically change this overall outcome? So if all these positions remain the same, like are they going to be wider? In which case, is it just a matter of moving them aside? Do I need to do a UI overhaul before I do this? I've got no idea what this should look like. I need to do like a full like look of the entire game before I need to do a big look of the entire game before I come back to this. I think it's probably safe just to do this. It's just it's labor intensive, and maybe that's because I'm not clever enough. I couldn't figure out a way to generate this based off of an existing list. So I actually manually make all of these nodes and just make sure that they're named the same. And then the fact that they have the right name means that the sprite, the name, and everything gets set up. But I am basically writing it in script here in, is it in Leafs? I think it's in Leafs, which is a vestigial name, but it's fine. So yeah, here's where we define each one, and then some of them have like previous upgrades, which is set up to make the lines black or white, so you can see the connections. And then yeah, how much is this UI gonna, that's horrible that the number appears above the line. How much is this UI gonna change that if I were to do like fill out this for each of the buildings, that I would like have to like do that again, basically, because the UI has changed so much. I don't know. But if I'm to test the game, I need this to be right. So it definitely makes sense. What is that? Oh, that's the flag. Flag shadows. That's an easy fix, to be honest. So yeah, I think I ought to do whatever updates I'm going to do to the UI before this. But what updates am I even going to do to the UI? Because this is our sort of universal button. We're using this everywhere. We're using this throughout the game. Like it's very simple. It's a button. It's got the sprite. What other information would we show? The tooltip needs reprogramming. I need to make it like its own canvas. I didn't realize you could make canvases within canvases, because then I can make that canvas appear on a higher layer, so it will always be in front. Why do I need to do that? You might have seen earlier, but when we select this, the tooltip can, not always, yeah, it can appear behind the thing in front of it, so that we would fix that, and the tooltip would tell you more information, which is quite simple, but yeah, it will give you the description of the item, of the upgrade. We've got the price there, we can move the price, but basically, are we going to keep to these squares? We could turn them into little rectangles, in which case we would want to move things to the side, but again, I don't think that would be that difficult. We obviously need to do this, and we need to do the back panel, but then what is the approach for this UI design anyway? And like, where else could we improve UI? So let's go like options panel. Like, I'm kind of okay with this, to be honest. Like, it has a style. I didn't knock it out, you know, like it was somewhat thoughtful. I like the consistency of how the buttons look. You know, I like how this works. It's very sort of simple, right? And we're using the same font, and you know, it's just kind of as simple as we can be. And using this consistent button, I think hopefully means that it's easy for players to figure out what is what. What happens if we start a battle? We're going to get so many bugs because of all the things I've changed. Okay, is that our... Okay, what happened there? So we tried to spawn an enemy. Are we at 3 seconds? We are. So we tried to spawn an enemy that wasn't there. Yeah, get pooled character. Okay, in GM, I think that's because we haven't spawned it yet. In GM, where we, and this is a messy script, I should tidy it. GM, when we construct character, so at the start of the game, so initialize object pools, that's the one. And we should have a bunch of these together in like the start method, or yeah, the start routine. Okay, loading screen, yeah, that's where we load. Initialize enemy object pools, and then we also initialize enemy hero. And this is going to be an interesting one. So we go initialize character containers. So let's just do that. And in this case, it's going to be 1. No, it's going to be, yeah, it's going to be 1. It's going to keep coming back. And this is going to be character select dot enemy hero, and that is indeed pointing to a character. And we put it in the enemy container, and we've initialized the enemy hero. Okay. The other thing we're going to have to do is make sure that it's dressed properly. So we might just be at the stage of, okay, let's do it. Let's finish up here. So UI glow up. Basically go through the entire UI and improve it and finalize it. Because at the moment we've got this like nice grey which kind of works, but I want to do like a final pass of UI basically. Because we are at that stage in the game. We know what we want. We know what it's supposed to look like. We know what we need to see. And we know what's been working based on what we have. So, like these buttons, for example. Can we improve these buttons? What have I written down? And the upgrades should be tall panels with information. Yeah, so that'll be a bigger UI with the upgrade and the full description put there. Or is it fine just as it is? What other info is there? Because I quite like the sort of simple explanation. Like, this is a simple game. It's not meant to, it's not meant to take up all your time. It's just like, so what we have at the moment is a little square. If you mouse over it, you get the description. And the description is very short and sweet and just kind of tells you what it is. And there's a simplicity to it. Animation for combos. And then we need to make it so that combos, if you haven't had that combo before, it's hidden. Like, you just know that you're combining these two things. So yeah. Yeah, tool panels with all info or more info, just so we don't feel stretched, and then we don't need the tooltip. It will just have all the info, but the tooltip should have. But yeah, I don't think we're going to go into that level of detail. Okay, tooltip for buttons should be there on canvas. Yeah, that's a given. So we might be at this stage where basically one of the pressing things we have to do is this UI glow up. Hero shield is a bit crap. That's true. The orcs don't have a shield, as for the hero. And the hero shield, I think I did already address this, but we actually... so shield... You just put the quote mark, then we get straight to it. So the shield... Okay. And... do we even have ice shield? We do. Except currently that's a level 2 thing. And what did I have on my design? So yeah, just knocking these little bits off the list. So I wrote down that choosing a shield as a hero is a bit crap. That heroes should do something else. They should have some kind of special effect, mana, return damage, or something. So let's have a look at that. Or like every time you block, you get a bit of heal. Just I don't know. So I'm going to look at my design, and I'll show it to you here. Upgrade amount of HP from leveling up. Yeah, there's other upgrade chances I can have. Yeah, and have a bit of like passive healing. Like, we just want to upgrade our way into being more powerful. That's the whole point of these, of like an RPG, isn't it? And this kind of fun. Alright, so what we have designed here is that the human weapon shield turns into ice shield. So we got rid of mirror blade. But I put a design note that the shield by itself is a bit crap. That basically it's not that fun to use. The artifacts do make it more interesting. But we felt like the shield was a bit too basic. So what I'm thinking of is that you start with the ice shield. And then do we have a shield? And then the orcs don't have a shield. Oh, they do have a shield. It's the plank. The undead don't have a shield. That's in character for them, I think. Their bodies are their shields. And then the demons have the mirror and the Rorim, which doubles the return, but that's going to be a design thing that we might address again. Because just shields don't feel that great in this game, right? Like, think of like Vampire Survivors or Brotato. Having a shield doesn't feel that great. More of like a talent thing. But maybe it does. Maybe that's just me. I'm the kind of person who doesn't use a shield in Dark Souls. But like I just find shields kind of boring, but not everyone feels that way. And it's a nice survivability item that if you have the stoic artifacts, which proc when you block, can be really, really good. But the thinking here would be that the orcs would start with spiked shield, and then that would evolve into something even better. And the humans would start with ice shield, and that would evolve into something even better. I think I'm going to leave it for now and see if it becomes a problem. I think it might be a matter of taste. And I think at the moment, unless I have a really strong reason to cut something or change something design-wise, I shouldn't really do it. So yeah, we have story, test and fix, orcs versus humans, and we have somewhere here human skill trees, but that should come after UI design. Hero should have a series. Yeah, so we need to just go through and make all of the levels as well. But you know what I really want to do? I kind of just want to play. So what we've got here is test and fix artifacts and test and fix enemy spawning. And what we've got is a setup where we're spawning the enemy hero. I need to be much clearer on this. Because the enemy hero has to be progressively stronger each time. And there'll be a way to do this. Looter buff. Okay. Okay. We need somewhere to... What we could do, like the hacky way to do it, that wouldn't require us to do anything else outside of here, would be we can just check the time. If HUD dot time... Where do we have hours past? Yeah, it's HUD. If HUD dot minutes is greater than 5, something like this. And then if we add buffs, they should stack progressively. And then we'll call this buff and I guess it would just be progressively stronger. It should be about what a looter is. And it would be nice if like these heroes like had some weapons attached to them as well. I'm kind of curious just to see what comes out, because yeah, interesting. I mean, we could just keep the looter. I feel like might be starting to go around in circles, which has happened to me before, where you just keep changing things that are already there and never release the game and never get any further, and it's like actually you're not making the game better, you're just driving it around in circles. Let's just go for... This is very hacky, but it just means that the ones that appear at these specific times will be stronger, and we could go like 4, 6, 8, 10. So we really are like... Although I don't know if the size should count there. Goddamn spaghetti. So new character container, add buff, and then we'll go looter buff, and we'll call this boss buff. Okay, it is a flat size, so the HP, the range, and the AoE increases by the buff value, but the size of the unit doesn't too much. Okay, that's good. So I guess we just have to see how that's balanced. Let's see how it goes. So this will be boss buff. So the hero that comes out, anytime we spawn a character that's a hero, they're going to have the boss buff, and they're going to be stronger depending on what they've got there. And then actually we might need... Like, what would be cool is if they weren't just like stronger, but they actually had the weapon. And what's going to happen if a unit comes in with soldier? So if we go apply upgrade, and because if let's say we spawn Randar, is that going to like spawn soldiers for the enemy? Is that going to create more spawns? So if the upgrade is a ally, Yeah, we actually make a new ally spawner. So we're going to have to say if character container dot is player. Only the player can benefit from character upgrades. Yeah, from receive, and I would say that's the same for this. So it's a bit spaghettified, but if character container dot is player, so if the character that is receiving the upgrade is the player, only then do we apply it. Otherwise, they just have weapons. So weapons, but they can receive weapons, and talents is like, it's not really, no, I don't think an enemy unit can have a talent. It doesn't work like that. So that should be nice and easy. That should deal with that. Very simple. Glad I anticipated that. So that should do that. I mean, what we could do is in characters, so where we define our characters, we could just say like, so let's say you're playing as the orcs and Randar appears as an enemy. What I would like is for him to like start with a sword, but then have a sword and a shield. You know what I mean? Like I want him to have like some extra stuff, and by the end it looks like a fully kitted out character, a bit like your character, and I think that'll be fun. So one thing I can do is basically like set that up here, or set that up around here, where we say when we spawn a character, what is all of this? I think this can go, since I've proven that I don't need it. Yeah, when we spawn a character and we grant enemy buffs if it's an enemy. So if it's spawning on the other team, some units get the enemy buff, which yeah, we'll see about that. And then just to make sure that they're like strong, because otherwise it's not balanced basically. Just kind of make some of the enemy units that feel a bit bossy, like make them bigger and rarer, so they're like mini bosses. Whereas on the player side, like you can have a whole army of them. So in order to make it feel good, we just kind of artificially buff them up when they're being spawned by an enemy. And that's a sort of like it's balanced because they spawn less often. And then here, if we're spawning a hero, kind of make them level 99, which is going to increase the loot that they drop. Make them drop loot. And we add the buff that's going to make them really strong, but also we could add it here, so we could go new character container dot apply upgrade, and then just kind of like, I think probably then, so having considered this, I think the easiest thing would be to put it here. So like we would actually have to define a higher level. I mean, this isn't 100% necessary, but I feel like it would be fun if they had different gear. And we actually have to define that. We can't just, like, we could give them random upgrades and have it like consistent. Or we might have to go like Randar 2, 3, and 4, which is like, I guess, yeah, boosting them up. So she would have like the bow, and yeah, they can only have weapons. So Randar would have like, they would each have a bunch of weapons associated with their hero type, basically. Yeah. Well, let's get it working for now, and then we'll do that. So the thing I want to put is, so cutscene for enemy hero spawning, and also, yeah, it just feels very messy to kind of go randar 2, 3, and 4 and add stuff, or maybe, and we go new character container dot apply. So apply upgrade, and then we give it a random weapon to new character container, and then hopefully that will stay, because they all only start with one weapon. So it would be like, so like, let's make like a upgrades, like get random weapon. For each, and then it would be like, do we have a thing for weapons? So for each upgrade, and upgrades, if upgrade dot is weapon, I guess we would need to know the faction. Faction is right, and if it's a weapon, if the faction matches, and if it's a weapon, so we need to make a new list upgrade support upgrades, or just the weapons. Range. This would be the brackets, not parentheses. Turn weapon upgrades random range 0 weapon upgrades dot count, and that should get us a random weapon. And then I'm curious, as to whether that's going to work for this. So yeah, this should never happen. It should never be null. Like if I apply the upgrade and then delete the character and then bring it back, will it still have the old upgrade? Is what I'm wondering. And then yeah, this would only happen here. New character container, apply upgrade, weapon upgrades dot get random weapon, faction, new character container dot faction dot character faction. should be right. And then, so if that happens, so we basically apply, like, so they're getting a random new weapon each time, right? Let's see how that goes. Let's see how broken that ends up being. Thank you, Monsieur. You're very kind. Thank you for your comments. Really appreciate it. And close Discord. Okay. So we're going to see a few things. We're going to see artifacts, and we're going to see and like how broken that is, and we're going to see these like hero character spawning and how broken that is. And since we kind of need to like play and test the game anyway, I'm happy to kind of let it ride. But we are really whittling this list down. We're looking very good. So this is like, yeah, UI glow up then. I mean, I guess we're finally at UI glow up, which is really sad because I hate doing UI. But I think that's the next thing. Okay, yeah, we've just spawned in QOL. And he didn't drop great loot. So what's that all about? So where do we decide what loot? Drop item. Okay, so for some reason he wasn't getting made to level 99. So what's up with that? Just looking at level equals. Okay, yeah, I don't think we need that. Oh yeah, looters get slightly less HP because they're looters. That's like a trade-off for them bringing loot to you. Building milestone, yeah, okay. That's building milestone levels. And that's originally declaring the levels on the characters, and then okay, is that what's happening? But I thought this would override that. So spawn character. But can I just grab him and look? I don't think I can. Because we can't look at character. Loot level. Do we use loot level anymore? No. Just get rid of that to avoid confusion. So yeah. And then here, just double checking which one happens first. Yeah. But I mean, we've got cause to celebrate, really, because basically, like, we are very far along with the project. There's still a lot to do, and it's a bit overwhelming, but, like, so much is done already that it's, like, actually my list, this, especially if we discard the later list, the stuff that isn't critical right now, we've actually got a very small list of things to do, and it's really just comes down to, like, yeah, I think the UI glow up has to come next. Because then we can, like, really get into making the story and getting the skill trees to work properly and all that good stuff. Okay, I should have... Let's collapse. Wait, so is that simply never being called? So let's just get rid of that for now. And then this one, is this just never happening? Characters.heroes.contains debug.log. I think what we want is not if it contains that character, because that's a fresh character. It's not the same one. Yeah, I mean, the looter wasn't bad, getting your looter appear at the end of, but I do think it makes more sense to have the like an enemy hero. It kind of makes looters, because I've always just liked the idea of loot goblins. I think they're fun, and having a loot goblin appear that you can smack and get its loot. And we've actually drawn loot goblins into the game, but they now no longer function as loot goblins. What we could do is have them appear, like, do both. So still have the loot goblins. Still have the loot goblins, but also the hero, the enemy hero. So the enemy hero appears at like 4 minutes. In fact, that kind of makes sense. Okay, so this isn't happening, and surprisingly, okay, that is happening. Okay, yeah, that's good. That makes sense. Okay, so that is happening. But heroes doesn't contain, so we'll just do a, and it's very rare, so it doesn't have to be optimized, but if characters.heroes.first or default, we could just like tag each of the hero characters with hero or something like that. Okay, that's messy, but let's see if it works. And yeah, we're doing great. We've really smacked down that list. Sometimes it does feel like I'm spinning my wheels, and it doesn't always feel like I'm making great progress. But then you look at your list, and you've got to be like, actually, my list was bigger before, and now it's smaller. Even if some of the things were shuffled, a lot of the things were just done. So we have to remember that. Okay, so now, yeah, he's there, and he also appears to be getting his buff. So that worked. And of course, I think he's gonna beat the crap out of me. Yep. But that's working. Okay, so that should happen at 5 minutes, and then we will see. Like that, we could make a sort of focused area to test it, but we've got other things to test as well. I mean, basically, I want to see if he's getting his new weapons. That's what I want to see. So I want to see him appear at 5 minutes. And then the other thing is... So, and I reckon that'll work with the level, and he will drop the loot. And then, but I also... Let me think. So... I don't want to get rid of the loot goblins because I like them thematically, but I think the enemy hero appearing at the end of each 5 minutes to just kind of be that present threat and be a big chunky thing to hit is also good. But I don't want to give people loot goblin twice. The thing about the 5 minute... one of the big reasons behind the 5 minute reset and having that loot goblin is it helps to balance things. So, it's kind of like a reset. You get a bunch of units, you get a bomb, so you kill all the enemies on screen. It's like a reprieve, and it kind of keeps things balanced. So I think we kind of want both, but we kind of have to nerf them a little bit. I mean, do we need loot goblins? Yeah, I like loot goblins. Should they be like a random thing? I mean, the thing about loot goblins is they generally run away from you, but that won't work in this game. If an enemy runs away from you, it's not going to work. So do we have loot? Do we keep the loot goblin? Yeah, I say we sort of half their efficiency, and we need to decide who drops what. So we'll have level 98 and level 99. If I can keep this stuff, I mean, boss buff, looter can just have boss buff, has the same effect, or maybe the looter buff wouldn't necessarily make them bigger. No, I think we can have both. And I reckon so actually we kind of want to so I'll save, undo basically everything I've done here before I deleted the looters. Okay, no, that's too wacky. We'll just do it again. I mean, yeah, it's effectively this. So we go. They'll just get the boss buff. We'll just call it the same thing, and we can make them stronger as well. We'll see, but basically, if new character container dot character dot is looter dot looter, then new character container dot level equals 99, and they just get boss buff, and that never gets higher. Okay, but then the looter could be 98, and then we go drop item. Okay, yeah, so level 2, level 3. This is very spaghetti, but it does work fine. So then we would have 98. So 98 and 99. So 99 is the boss, 98 is the looter. I think the looter should drop all of this stuff. But the... But this guy should drop a chest. And I think like maybe several. It can drop a where is it? Super XP gem. And a chest. And maybe like 3 of these. And where's the normal XP gem? And like 5 of these. I mean, I don't know. It just needs to drop some loot, right? And then how much and how is down to like, you know, like it should be fun to see this explosion of loot happen. The goblin is more of like this reset. So the goblin should be 5 minutes. The hero should be 4 minutes. So it's kind of almost like if you can survive the boss until you get the loot goblin, that's viable. I mean, these numbers can all change. I just want to build the functionality. I don't need to worry too much about balancing. I just know that this should happen. So then we go loot goblin. Oh, that's an enemy spawner. Okay. So here we go. At 5. No, at 4 we do the hero. And at 5 we do... Do we have... Okay, yeah, that would have to be... Yeah, but then can we do character select dot loot? So characters... No, we don't have them stored, so we just have to do... We have to just type it manually, which is not ideal, but, you know... loot goblin, and so that stays the same, and then we just want this guy to appear at 4, at 9, 14, and I guess a loot goblin appears at 90, so we'll kind of do it in the reverse. Well, yeah, loot goblin at yeah, I guess he can appear here to like try and kill you right before the end. That would be horrible. No, let's just have them both come together, and we can always balance this. Sadly, because of the way I've done it, I'm going to have to do this for each faction, so bear with me. We could... There are some things where you could say, like, just have another coroutine running parallel, which does all the same things, or we could even make a single coroutine that basically, like, kind of automatically generates this. But I feel like there will be exceptions, and I think overall it is actually just going to be easier to do it like this. So we have not that. Enemy heroes. So once again, we just pop this, and this will be the same line of code. 4 minutes, 9 minutes. We could put it in a separate coroutine. We could put it in a separate coroutine, and then we wouldn't have to change it. But and then if we change where it goes, in fact, yeah, that's probably a good idea. And then we could even switch it on and off. So let's call this... Could do the same for loot goblins as well. Say like switch off loot goblins. It's like a difficulty thing. But public enumerator boss spawns, where basically it's much the same, but we go... Yeah, so 4 minutes, and we just need that next to here. And then this would be gone. That's going to be easy to get rid of the extra bits, but then we have, so wait until minutes is 4, spawn a hero. Wait until minutes is 9, spawn a hero, because it just works for every faction. And then I guess this would be 18. Yeah, and then we need to call that. Yeah. Then if we ever wanted to just switch off bosses coming in, then that we can do that. And then so let's find this and just undo what we did before. So we'll just go through and get rid of each one manually. That's our test one. And then we don't have to do it for each faction. And we could probably do the same with Looter. We could probably do, like, this could be better, I think, the way we spawn in enemies, but it does work quite well. And they're, you know, I'm not going to redo it unless I have a good reason to, and I don't have a good reason to. It's balanced quite nicely, actually. It's one of the things that is working about the game, for sure, is the balance is good as you get to the end. Right, so that should work. And then as for cutscenes, I want to take any dialogue and actually put that in. Yeah, so this is placeholder, but it's yucky. Right. So these should exist in dialogue, just so it's not clogging up GM. We've got too much stuff in GM. And then basically all of our dialogues can be stored here. And so there's going to be some find and pasting. But yeah, now we don't need to do dialogue canvas. Ah, if that's on there, then we have to set it active true. Let me think about that. We could make a new script that holds all of these, but we don't want it on the actual object because it needs to be switched on. So yeah, let's just for the sake of tidiness, I'm going to make a new script called dialogues, and for the sake of tidiness, we're going to put it in our very tidy scripts folder. Scripting, I guess, just whatever. Dialogues, and it's just a place where we can write all of these without having to so we need using system.collections. Okay, HUD, so these are all things that are to do with GM. So HUD needs to be gm.hud. Does that work? Or do I have to... Yeah, gm.c.hud. And how often does that come up? Yeah. These are actually... I don't know if dialogues is a good way, because we actually have like wait for stuff and then open the dialogue again. It's like it's actually story. So while I've called this dialogues, it should just be stories. The only thing I'm doing here is just moving it to a different place. And then gm.paused. And so dialogues isn't the right word for it. There should be stories, I guess, like sequences where which just run parallel to the game and just have certain wait conditions based on what mission we're in. I guess in GM it doesn't do too much harm being in there. Let me think. I think we're just going to keep it in GM for now. I think that's actually not a bad place for it. So we still got it. We didn't delete it. Yeah, we'll just keep it in here for now. It's when you start trying to be more efficient. Okay. And then so we could have... Like, it would be cool if you do that thing like in Tekken where if you have two characters fight each other, they can have like specific dialogues. And it would be cool to have a dialogue between each character, you know? So... How do we open dialogue? So let's take the first one. So we go open dialogue, set up character, switch character line, switch character line, switch character line, close dialogue, and then the quest text updates. So this is a dialogue. Let's just go public. Yeah, generic, like boss scene for now is fine. Pop all of that in. So we go open the dialogue. We do all of that. Set up the characters. This could probably be compressed. And then we set up characters.getCharacter player dot name. And then this would be character select enemy hero dot names. Always pointing to the names because it's not actually always pointing to the thing itself. It just shares a name with it. Just that way, if I ever say like edit this about that, then it doesn't edit the root of it. I do get confused thinking about that, but yeah. So then switch character 1, 2. So yeah, so switch character. So the first character talks and says, and then I guess somewhere we would need to store generic hero line. Like each character would have a line that they would say here. So it'd be like, halt you. And actually it would be switch character. So it would start with the enemy character talking. And he would say, generic line. And then we wait until you've pressed advanced. And then we go switch back. And then we switch back to 1. Generic line. And then we're done. Then we can close dialogue. And basically, yeah, they just say something to each other. Okay, and then what is the other thing we do? Loading screen. Where do we set that active? Okay, so I'm going to go to HUD, loading screen. Where do we actually load wave? Okay, yeah, so we do set it active there. It's very spaghetti. Essentially what I want to try and do is hide this. So try and have the loading happen like here. So we don't make loading screen 2 true. Like we don't want a loading screen that takes you out of the action. We can just sort of say load next wave of enemies. And then what did we call this? At the bottom, boss scene. So we just go. And so hopefully, like, loading the enemies is sort of happening while you're doing the boss, so they're like happening at the same time. We'll see how that works. Will it start stuttering? I don't know. But we're not switching on the loading screen. And we're not messing with timescale either. Like that should be being handled here. So this is happening simultaneously. We do want it on a coroutine because we just want it to like happen at the kind of like a fixed update kind of thing. Take a break between each one just to sort of so it doesn't all happen at once. But we're also starting the boss scene, so we don't want to mess with timescale. Start boss scene. HUD.minutes. Never mind that. And then what that should result in is, yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see what that's actually like when we get to it. So we've done quite a few little changes that are, okay, let's knock this one out. I'm not tolerating little silly things on the list because we are getting there. Okay, what's wrong? Okay, yeah, so that is just okay, so this would be I guess we could store that, but this is fine. Character dot bark. Right? This doesn't exist yet. I think that's going to be the other way around. Okay. So then each character would need a bark. Is it characters or just... Yeah, characters are just a type of hero. So character is... And it has a... In addition to everything else, a character has a bark. Okay. And then so Randar's bark is... Wait, is that what I called it? Yeah, bark. So we say Randar. So we say, yeah, bark. Why is it not coming? Oh, we need a comma. We will... And what we could do is have a list of barks. We will restore our lands. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And then that doesn't have an end line because we're inside this bracket thing. So then Jania will be like... and then like... Yeah, we could have exceptions for certain heroes versus certain others. And we could have a list of barks. It's just, this is a whole new thing. But yeah, they need to say something to each other. It's a good way to hide the loading screen. And it does kind of just help build this world. So if they had a list of barks. But I think one will do for now. Back or I'll shoot. Rowan, like pretty generic stuff, but I think it needs to be there. You will be cleansed. I mean, I can't think of many scenarios actually where like characters have really personal things with each other. I guess you could be playing as Randar versus Dark Randar, and then he could say something like, "The greatest enemy is myself," you know, something cheesy like that, and then so only the heroes need these. And then we could say, like, if he's fighting a human, he would say something like, "You're strong for a human." You can never fight. He'll never be fighting against an orc, as far as I know. So I would say, I mean, there's no plans for it yet. So it could be like, "You are strong for insert race." We don't have that functionality. You are strong, but not strong enough. Your blood will feed my plants. I don't know. This is like very generic. Yeah. Yeah, your blood will serve my plans. Pick. It's like smash the tiny human. And he might not be fighting a human, but he might not be aware of that. Like, anything that's not an orc is a human. And then again, we don't need to put on our writing hats right now. We just need to and yeah, we should probably have a few, but let's just get this functionality going. I mean, Basma, you will make a fine addition to my army. And then the demons. Soul is mine? No, will be mine. Bask. Beauty. Bask, yeah, but yeah, bask in my beauty. I'm not putting any effort in because I don't know if these are still like Lucy's a found a character. I do like Floater. I like everything about him. He's like a grotty, like does debuffs, like kind of Toxic Avenger type. You'll never be rid of me. What kind of works for his name? And then I think that's all of them. So they all have a bark. So they'll all have something to say here. And so we've got this like scene that can work for whatever character is put into it. Should be fun. See how that goes. And then are we triggering that? Yeah, we're triggering that. Except it's happening at the 5 minutes. Yeah, so after you press the artifact, that's when we decide to load the wave. But actually, this should happen when we kind of like here when we spawn them. But actually, if we can put it, here, like, so when the boss guy is spawned, that's when we get the dialogue, and that's also when we load the wave. So we've got a little bit of a spaghetti path here. And then load wave asks, and this is just like initializing, so it doesn't spawn anything. This is greater than 3 now. Greater than 12. Greater than 8. Greater than 13. So we might have created some bugs here, but I think not. I think I'm being mostly careful. It's not most encouraging, but yeah, I think so. Yeah, load wave then. So let's just find that again. So load wave happens when we spawn the boss, where we get the little cutscene and we load the wave, and hopefully it's sort of because you're busy like in the dialogue, that you won't notice the loading screen, that basically you won't notice that things are loading in the background. It's just like a little bit of loading. So let's see how that plays. Because yeah, we need to instantiate a bunch of units. I mean, on a good computer, it will be barely noticeable. And let's just see that what we're at. So load wave. Does it need? For each. Yeah, we don't need to wait a frame between each bit. But this has become quite nasty spaghetti, so but at least it's going to have the functionality we want. That's just the ever-present thing, is like, at least like it wouldn't be too bad to refactor this. Thing is, it's not really affecting optimization, maybe ever so slightly, and a part of it is just kind of wanting to keep pace actually making the game. I don't want to take a break to sort out optimization, or to refactor things. I've fallen for that trap before. I fell for it hard, and I'm not gonna do that again. I've also fallen for the other thing of being too messy, and then you end up like dredging through sludge every time you try and do anything because you haven't got clean code. But let's see. It's taken forever. Just double checking that, hoping that unit didn't have sub-zero health or 0 health. He just had basically 0. Okay, let's go with... And I don't know why these are now showing like blank sprites. This is a new problem. So this should just be, that shouldn't be white. That should just be gone. And I think I have done something where I've tried to reuse too many UI assets. Like I don't need to reuse them. But here is a. Can I have that, please? I don't know why I should have to have gizmos on to select things like that. Excuse me. Is that? Yeah, there is talent icon. And the image, so what's wrong here? So rather than being nothing, we want that to be pointing to an empty... Why has that only recently become an issue? Why is that only happening now? Because this has always just pointed to null if it wasn't anything. So talent icon. We don't actually think we're doing like find child. Yeah, it's just an object. And then we look at the children. So talent icon. Sprite. Yeah, empty sprite. So empty sprite. Is that like null? So if we go GM empty sprite, which is not where it should be. Maybe that's... Oh yeah, so empty sprite is missing. Okay. So I need... I wish it would just be blank. So I just need an empty sprite. So like, quickest way to do that would be... like if we just... I don't know. Yeah, if we go human weapons... Except that shouldn't be there. Is this even... Yeah, I can delete that, I think. But if we go to characters, and if we just go to green beans, and open sprite editor, and just make a little... Call this empty sprite. It's very silly. Should probably come up with a more long-term solution, but I don't expect this to come up. So then on scenes, in fact, empty sprite should be, just to take a little bit of weight off of here, empty sprite should be in sprites. And it can just be near the top. Shouldn't compile, so I need to finish this. So empty sprite stuff.sprites. Empty sprite. All right, that should work. And of course, in stuff, sprites, empty sprite. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to, at the end of the month, I'm going to be going to the Isle of Wight, taking a week off, and I think that's going to really help me when I come back. It's going to be like, let's bloody finish this bloody game. Because we're so close. Look, we got this map. This was a recent development. We've got everything set up to do the story. We've got 2 out of 4 bases done. We're very close to the finish. Need to like do up these missions basically. At the moment, it's like all switched off for testing. And so I guess we've got a couple more like bits of testing and balancing to do of like the sort of final form of the game. Before we like start actually like playing. Okay, yeah, so that worked. That looks much nicer again. I mean, I'm sort of pretty happy with the balancing overall. Like, the main change being like the armor, but that hasn't drastically like changed the balancing too much. Because I did like intentionally so, because you get a penalty to HP for having high armor and speed. So it all balances out. Okay, yeah. How crap is the shield, really? Because some people like having shields. And so I think that one of the problems with the shield is because it doesn't move. And I kind of wonder if the shield should point at the most recent source of damage. I think I remember that. I think I turned that off for a reason. So I just pressed 6 to open up my artifacts. Okay, let's see what went wrong here. So we should have stuff in the artifact pool, but it looks like it's empty. So what I want to figure... Okay, so like we've done... Okay, let's do base flag shadows. Let's knock off low-hanging fruit, and then basically we want to just do this one where we test and fix artifacts. Enemy hero spawning, we've tested that, it works. But I do want to test it with, like, in context. And sadly, the way I've set that up is that in context, it's going to be awkward to do because of the way, just because of, like, we're relying on time. So hopefully we can just kind of test that natively, if that makes sense. I wonder if I can have, like, because I've got cheats to speed up time. Can I have a cheat just to advance time by a chunk? So let's keep these in order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's put 6 before 7. Did we have time? Yeah, let's put 8 and 9 next to that. So it's just our cheat menu. It doesn't have to be too tidy. It's just for me to use. I guess we could have... Yeah, like... Put the get key down 5. gm.c dot minutes. hd dot minutes. Bus. So we just skip a minute without having to like burn the computer. Yeah. See, I'll have to remember those buttons. As someone suggested, and I think it does make sense, like, I should just have a time controller kind of attached to every game I have. Just this little slider that can just control time.delta time, because that's like a, what do you call it, like a static or open function. Right, so we go into a game. Straight away, like the overlapping there isn't working. But again, talking about UI, like what is missing from this UI really? I guess we could show the level as the background. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so that's one. UI glow up. Show level in the background of character select. So we're actually like in the space here, so it's just very clear where they're going to be fighting, and it kind of almost makes sense where they're standing. Just to give this scene a bit more colour. I think that would make sense. But yeah, I really have to put on my UI hat. We've got this sort of like weird shiny green button, so it's always clear where the play button is. But is that desirable? So we can skip a minute by pressing 5, and that works. It means we're not going to get like a real accurate representation of what enemies are coming. Let's just push that. So 5, 5. And this looks like a Unity crash. Okay. It looks like... Yeah, because we got to 4 minutes. If upgrade.factions not equal to null. So I think because we're loading, it's like causing the game to tank. So that's kind of what I was worried about. Because basically, if we're spawning, if we're getting a bunch of spawning a bunch of pooled objects, so like we're spawning like a whole set of enemies, basically, like maybe we don't want to do that straight away. But maybe it is just because there was the null reference. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put load wave. One of the ways we can alleviate this is just to just pop this here, just so it doesn't all happen at once. It doesn't try to do it all on the same frame. Let's just see how that works. See if that deals with that problem. And basically it's like if you mash through the scene, yeah, like there's loading happening while you're doing this chat. I just don't want it to actually like interrupt gameplay. Or like I want it to be like just sort of hide some of the loading. On a good computer this loading will, which mine isn't, on a good computer this loading will take, it won't take any time at all. But on my computer, especially in this weather, with my, I think like 2 or 4 sticks of RAM, I think I haven't got very much RAM. I was like, I can always get more RAM later. And now it's later, and guess what's happened to the price of RAM? So, let's try that again. And I'm sort of testing 2 things in tandem, which is probably not recommended. But yeah, UI, like, is the UI fine? Maybe the UI is fine, and we actually don't need to change anything about it. That actually this look is working. Like, at least fundamentally, like, so like, for example, the way the level ups work, like, you could not get more simple than that, right? Little squares, and you get a little tooltip that tells you, like, it's as simplistic as it could be. But maybe I should look at a game like Ball Pit and say, can I just kind of have something a bit more gilded and, you know, sort of polished and clearly a lot more effort put in, you know? And should these lines always match width and everything, like that kind of thing? Anyway, so we will do 6 to get an artifact. Okay, so apparently we don't have any artifacts. What works for you? Sorry, I think probably the delay. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Doing these tandem bugs, like, because I should pick one and stick with it rather than I'm kind of like leaning into that for fun. a little bit. And it's just kind of like going wherever my curiosity takes me. Yes, oh, you're talking about the UI, I'm guessing. Yeah. Yeah, it's very simplistic. I wonder if it's so simplistic that it will turn people off and be like, oh, this game hasn't had enough effort. But maybe now that the rest of the game looks nicer, the simplicity of the UI is actually refreshing rather than just looking like more overly simplistic stuff, right? So yeah, let's do artifact stuff. So there are 0 in here. And I reckon that's going to be because I made some kind of mistake. So for each artifact in artifact list, first of all, let's go there and just artifact list. So when we generate artifacts, we are adding the new artifacts. So we'll put in a bunch of checks here. So the problem is here, and we'll say debug.log artifact. Yeah, the thing is, like, at the very least, I'm not going to be doing UI this week, but I'm basically, I guess that's the mad thing, is that I'm at the point where doing the final pass of UI is kind of the next thing I should do, and I just dread that because I just don't really know what to do. I don't know where to start. But there are a few obvious things, and we could take that button and just make it look a bit nicer. Okay, so artifact list.count. Okay, rarity. Okay, so we've rolled rarity. So let's just, I am fairly confident I'm going to get rid of rarity. So rather than commenting this out, I'm actually just going to delete it. And I'm actually just going to delete this as well. Like, we don't need that. We don't need that. Let's be a bold and proud game designer who knows what he wants and say, no, we don't need that. Why is this all commented out? Oh, this was me. Yeah. Yeah, I'm fairly certain I kind of want it to just be pure and random. Okay. So we've gotten rid of the concept of, like, could that be it then? If artifact... Okay, are they all unlocked by default? That's another thing to check. So proc unlocked is equal to true. Fairly certain I can delete this soon. Okay, yeah, so that doesn't come up. So we're not... Wait, unlocked. I might be doing a stupid here, but I think unlocked is true. Okay, and we're asking here in artifact UI if is it unlocked, which they all are at the moment, and is the outcome unlocked? I might have already fixed it with the rarity thing. So if the excluded factions does not contain my current faction, if the excluded factions, okay, does not contain, then we proceed. So that should work. And then don't already have it. Okay, let's see what happens with that then. I think the rarity thing might have fixed it though. Don't know what's happening. We're just still compiling. Yeah, there is a simplicity to the UI, which is quite nice, and just the consistent use of this button. But maybe I can just make this button look a bit nicer, and then I need to get to a point where I look at the UI and say I have no notes. Within reason. And then there's kind of no turning back. Or at least I have to accept whatever problems are going to come up from changing the UI, like, after making all the skill trees and stuff. Okay, so 6. Okay, so we got this far. Artifact pool.count. Okay, so what's... Okay, well, that's surprising. That is surprising. That is surprising. So there are none in the artifact list. And we are indeed... So I almost forgot this. So at start of... wake, so we say okay, so maybe somewhere it's just getting cleared. I feel like I had that twice. Artifact list dot clear. Artifact list equals new list artifacts. Yeah. Okay, so that's redundant. We don't need that twice. So we've already. We don't need it up here. We've got it already at generate artifacts. Okay, let's try that out. Okay. It's going to be something silly. Like I said, I'm actually glad to have something to do besides moving on to the next thing, which is probably finally glowing up the UI. And again, like, yeah, maybe the UI is fine, but maybe it's fine. But I just need to like settle on that then and be like, okay, it's done. No more UI. And it's one of those things, because I've been staring at it for so long, I can't tell if it's good or not. And it doesn't have, it's not just good, like, could it be better? Okay, interesting. So by the time we're generating artifacts, we actually don't have any procs. Yeah, a bit of glow up won't hurt, right? As long as I can go through and just have a full focus on UI, because it's not just about making one menu finalized. It's about finding the sort of visual look for our UI. So have I just... yeah, very, very simple mistake, but quite an expensive one. I have not been adding these. So outcomes.add summon. Simple as that. So I need to do that for each of these, which is a bit of a pain, but I'm okay to do it. And actually, I think I'm going to go treat myself to a little break now. It's almost 4 o'clock. I don't know if I'm going to finish at 4 or a bit later, but let's say we'll finish this. We'll see what other bugs we run into, and then we'll set up for another date tomorrow, I guess. But we're getting there. I'm getting sick of making this game, I have to be honest. I do love it, and I'm surprised at how much I still enjoy the game when I play it, even after all this time. But goddamn, I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to like finish it, and we are getting close. It's just the instinct and the temptation is very much to just kind of start doing the story and just kind of start finishing it, but I just really need to like be prudent and do things in the right order, and do the things that I don't love doing first because the thing to do is just press play on the game and just kind of go through it as a user. So first thing is tutorial, and of course you really don't want to do tutorial, and you really don't want to be balancing the upgrades over a game that isn't actually quite like sorted yet. So there's dependencies and there's an order of events. So yeah, I'll be right back. Okay. Right, so where were we? Yeah, I need to go through and do some busy work. Riveting stuff for the stream, I think. But this is... Well, if you'd really like programmed things properly, like you wouldn't run into these issues, but this is the kind of thing you have to do sometimes. Probably, if I had Claude code, I'd just be like, Claude, I haven't added these outcomes. Can you just do that? And the thing is, the time it takes for me to explain to something like Claude, I've probably done it. It depends on the amount of stuff we're working with, and this is by far this game has ballooned in the amount of stuff there is. But yeah, I think I'm like, okay, so then we need to do the same here. Procs.add critical. And this is now like, this is how I'm going to do things from now on, because this is what works best. This is what doesn't lead to bugs. This works for me. So I'd be explaining to some Claude or something like, hey, can you just take that and put procs.add and put that in there, please, for each of the lines. And then it would get it wrong, and then I would ask it to do it again, and then fix it, and then fix the prompt, and then it would work. And then the time that took, I could have just done it like I'm doing now, manually. Of course, if I'd done this from the beginning, it would be less work. Because as I copied and pasted each one over, the find and replace would have just knocked that out. And again, actually, like on my next project, I am going to install the latest version of Visual Studio, because I did notice that the old it is quite good at interpreting what you're going to write next. So in the code, I would have written out this, and then I would have done. So if I write critical and then do that, and then if I just wrote holy, so let's say this is all I had, right? Visual Studio Code, the latest versions with like the sort of auto, and I don't think you even call that AI, that's just like autofill. It's not LLMs or anything. And then I would just write holy, and then I reckon it would make a copy of that but with holy, and then I would just be pressing tab. So yeah. So procs.add holy. Okay. And yeah, we've got a work cut out for us to get those artifacts working. But then again, I'm going to kind of just be like, I can't keep changing the way artifacts work. Like, it's taken us a while to get here, and it's like, yeah, this is the best way. Have lots and lots of artifacts, but make sure that they always kind of chain with each other, and we can sort of add and remove them as we play, but generally they kind of auto-generate based on whatever idea we have for a proc and whatever idea we have for an outcome, and then we just need to make sure the exclusion lists work and the artifact is targeting the right people. Okay, that's more like it. So this is going to work now. Okay, good. Oh, and on electrocution, heal 10 HP. Hero heals all allies. So we can actually, because I made this bigger because I figured we would need more space, but actually I'm not sure we do. And then we've got a bug with how that appears up there, so we'll have to, but that's a great start. So first thing, we will find our artifact button. And again, there is this kind of simplicity here. And also in the description we have to include the chance. Let's write that down now before I forget. Oh, and I need to do that base flag shadow. Okay. Description, artifact, description, chance. Okay. But what we're doing now is we're taking our artifact variant. Why can't I see anything at all? Okay. Alright, it's just because we're in play. Right, so this, I think I just like increased the width a bit. So we just bring that back down to 200. The height can be 300. I think that's what I did. And I didn't actually move that. So then the text is like this. And that should be fine. And then, so when we make our descriptions, no? Do we not generate a description? I thought we did. I really need to get rid of that. So generate artifacts. Here we go. Artifact.description, because it's artifact.description.add rather than equals. Okay, that makes sense. Names. Okay. So that was a mistake. I'm surprised I didn't spot that. Well, that didn't come up. Proc, I guess I wasn't looking at the names properly, but yeah, so descriptions.clear, proc.descriptions, or when I display the artifact, how am I doing that? I see. No, what we want is okay. And then so back to artifacts. Is that actually, so yeah. Proc.descriptions, comma, on something. Plus artifact dot, or new artifact chance dot, and that will have to come after then, so we'll do generate chance before name and description. So the chance will have been set up. Except we haven't actually even done that. So we probably don't actually need and that's going to be our base chance. We should probably use a constant there. That would generally be the thing, but equals that, and then it's multiplied by that, and then that's that. And then we have times that's a percentage number. And then we'll see the bits where that works and that doesn't. So that would be like on crit, the chance to drop a mana gem, double chance for hero to restore. Yeah. And I know that loads of the artifacts aren't going to quite work, and we'll have to sort of do a mixture of clever programming and cheeky exceptions to make it work. And then we're going to have this issue of talent icon, and I did some of this, I think today or yesterday, I can't remember when. Talent icon will need to work for artifact image, and so okay, so that was 2, 0, 1, 2. Okay, so we should just, to not interrupt that, artifact outcome image, and this by default would be empty. So we would want to get child 3 if it is a for ally slots, display 4 talent slots, display artifacts. Yeah. Okay, good. So we've got that there, and we've already set that up. I just hadn't set it up at this end, so I've already coded it. So I assume that's going to work. I'm not going to sit there and stare at the code and wonder if it works. I'm just going to try it. What was I doing? 6. Okay, yeah. Freezing Death Summoner. On enemy death while frozen, 10% chance to drop a summoner, double chance for hero. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so one of the things I need to figure out is, so on artifacts, was it hero double? Player double. Okay, so for the outcomes, double, because I did write the descriptions. That's one thing I did try and do properly. Did I do it for all of them? Yeah, I think I wrote out all the descriptions, so I can just find instances of this and then say summoner.hero double player double equals true. And is that true by default? No. Good. Player double is true. So this is one of the little things that I just sort of knew I hadn't done, but I just kind of wanted to, like, I knew it would, I wouldn't have to go far to make it happen, you know? Like, I wouldn't have to dig deep to find instances of it. So that's actually all of them, which does make life easier. So I don't have to do that for, like, before I had every single artifact written out individually, but now, yeah, so that works. Okay, we don't need this anymore because this is working. Go ahead and delete that. Because I'm fairly certain we don't want rarity. It would suck if I decided to add it again and lost that functionality that I just made, but let's just be... Let's add this as well. Let's just knock this out. Okay, I keep saying this. So yeah, that will be double chance for hero. So all the ones that should be double chance for hero. So on losing armor, 5% chance to heal 10 HP. That kind of makes sense. It's a bit wobbly, but it does make sense. We could make an exception, like don't, or so we could make losing armor isn't compatible with healing. But actually, it's not a terrible idea and does further synergize with healing. And the grammar is correct, like it works for the description works. Armored heal. On losing armor, 5% chance to heal 10 HP. That does feel a bit wonky, so we can address that, but that's mainly a balancing issue. Yeah, so chance to heal 10 HP. Oh, and I think construct character. Just one that's in my head. Anything that we do, anything we make here. It's just a thing to copy a character, and let's do these shadows. And let me just check. So armored artifacts. The subject and the object is the person that lost the armor. So if I lose armor, I will heal myself. Yeah, that should work. We'll see if we play it and it doesn't work, but okay, where are we at? Shadows. Let's just get that low-hanging fruit. Keep saying it. Let's do it. So we just need to go to Ironwell. So far the one I can see is this one, and that one doesn't actually have shadows. It's actually quite convenient that this shadow is like barely visible. But we go like this to turn it into a shadow. No one's going to care or notice about that. I mean, it shouldn't even be there because it doesn't shadow into the wall. But fine. Off the list. Bye bye. Yeah, we could say add more barks, but I think add more barks could really come at the end. Like it's just not gameplay crucial. UI glow up is not gameplay crucial, but what is gameplay crucial is the talents. Is the human skill trees. But whatever we do to glow up the UI might not materially change it. So if I set up the human skill trees at the UI side and then we change the UI look, the UI look being changed might not actually affect the skill trees. Okay, yeah, we'll get there. Well, I've added this, so now that just comes down to text test and fix enemy hero spawning. Yeah, okay, we're gonna get through this. Right, so we did that. Lovely. And now what did we want to test? I guess we can get an artifact and see if it appears at the top left properly. And then every time we look at an artifact, we can say, does that make sense? Is that going to work? But I do like the way that it's mostly seemed to work. And again, like, I sort of envisioned having, you know, like, again, Deep Rock Survivor, anytime you look at an item, you get all the stats about it. And it's like, I feel that can be quite overwhelming when all you're really concerned with is the tags. And I always find like a quick description is better. So like, you don't need to know how much HP a soldier has and all that stuff. You just need to know that it's a basic melee unit. Like, do you really need to know how much HP, its speed, the fact how much armor it has? Like, you'll figure that out. From the point of view of the player, you just need to know it's a melee guy, you know? Right, knockback mana. That should work. I think there was an issue with knockback. Did I actually delete this? Because basically knockback was based on a chance of getting mana, but that is a training thing, so I think we should keep that. So knockback. So I've deleted it. Should I? I mean, it's very simple, but the way it was before is that the chance would depend on how much knockback you did. So let's find knockback. Start coroutine. Where is it? There it is. So it's actually really simple. So here, where do we actually call that? So that would be, yeah, take damage. Was I not just looking there? Take damage, and then in take damage, at some point we do the knockback. Don't we? No, we do it from the weapon. Where do we call knockback from? Okay. Shooter. Okay, good. Okay, so target. So I guess it was in here, and we say, yeah. Okay. So if knocker is player, no, if knocker dot team name is equal to team, is it not static c dot team 0 dot name. Don't ask why we have to do it like this. For each, and then we do a artifact. So let's do a critical artifact. That's the most simple one. so I don't have to write that all out again, and I don't have to search my brain for how exactly to write it. So for each artifact in the active artifacts, if the artifact proc is knockback, run artifact outcome, and the person who did it is the knocker, and the person who got hit is this. This is the one getting knocked back. Okay. If knocker is not equal to null. Okay. And then, so there's a couple ways to determine, like, so there's a lot of things that do a tiny bit of knockback. So the dagger has a tiny bit of knockback, and that's just for like the visual feedback. But should we be asking for things that have a knockback over a certain threshold, or should the chance depend on, yeah, so we can actually give it a chance. So if you give it a chance, if you don't tell it a chance, it will just do artifact.chance. If you do give it a chance, you can override the chance. So that's how I did it, and I've already done it before, and I deleted that, but I think it's just easier to do it again. So we go, and the code is definitely different and better. So float chance equals, and if I remember right, force out of 300 or something like that, and then we just override the chance. Okay, so that would be knockback mana, and then for mana it doesn't matter who did it, and then yeah, if it's 10, again, run artifact outcome, mana, restore mana 5, and this isn't player double, it's just if the player does it they get more armor. So we'll say if, and it will be the person who did it, or the person who it was done to. So I want to check if it did the player do this, and if the player did this, but is the player going to be the object character or the subject character? I think it depends on the input, right? If object, or we could just make it player double, just to save us having to code this. But if object character, so it would be like if the player dealt the knockback. So this would be if subject character dot is player, else so subject character is player, but then there might be another case, like if it's vengeful mana, the subject character is the object, but then vengeful, so let me just check that. This is why it's confusing, and this is why it hurts my head to think about, but vengeful artifacts, the person who benefits, so the subject character is the damager. But at the same time, actually no, the subject character should be, like, it doesn't matter, but like vengeful mana, it would be like, so not like, so if it's vengeful mana, the subject character is the one who died, like, or like that team should be benefiting from it. But they're not going to have a mana. But you can't get vengeful mana. So again, double checking that. Vengeful. Oh, yeah, we don't build it like that anymore. But vengeful. Yeah, it can't give mana, because who does it give mana to? Except that should work. But vengeful could just be... So you can't get vengeful mana. You can get vengeful mana gem though. But vengeful mana should be possible. So that's where I'm like, okay. So, but then how do we check that it was the player who did it? So vengeful mana should be possible. So we go vengeful. We run artifact outcome. The damager is the one who did the killing, and this is the one who died. So then we go over to... I mean, so if it's vengeful, it can't be player double. I mean, it can't be like the player did this. So my head is hurt. This is really difficult. So if it's vengeful... So do we store double outcome, double chance for hero? So that would be saying if the hero dies, if the hero is the one who died, or who did, like, you get more mana, but that's no good. I could solve this really easily by just making it double chance for hero in this case. And then you've got like vengeful heal would just always target everyone, but the outcome of heal checks if it's player or not. So I need to think that through a bit better, basically. Like it doesn't quite all line up. Yeah, it doesn't quite line up here. I think the best thing, rather than me hacking at it now, is to have a good think about it. So we have test and fix artifacts. So fix this problem. You know what the answer might be? Is to that I can't like I just have to have it like I had it before, where I just do one each individually. So like vengeful mana, or like when it's the outcome. So does that just make it... So like, for example, we have vengeful reset. If the proc is vengeful, then we just make it that the player resets, right? We can't make that reset all. And it can't be the player who died and therefore resets your... Like, there's some that just don't click. So if it was vengeful mana... If it's vengeful mana gem, it doesn't make a difference. And hero doesn't benefit from that. Or does it? Ah, it's so tricky, isn't it? This should have a space. Okay, that is a puzzle and a half that I'm gonna have to figure out. Enemies spawning, I don't expect that to be too difficult, but like... Okay, armored heal, let's just think of that one. On losing armor, 5% chance to heal 10 HP. Hero heals all allies, yeah. And the person who lost the armor, so... and we say the person who lost the armor is the subject and the object, because we don't want to reward the enemy, right? So armored heal will... So then we have a look at... So let's bring this here, just so we can put them side by side. We just need to like make it work in each case. And I'm gonna have to be quite clever to do this. So it might just be that some are exceptions, but then I can just write those exceptions. That's fine. So armored artifacts. So this is the subject character, and armored heal. The subject character could indeed be the player, in which case we heal all allies. And if it's not the player, then the character who lost the armor gets the heal. Let's go back to Vengeful Mana, see if my head can do it better. So Vengeful Mana, the subject character will never be the player. Let me just shut the door. Yeah, we can ask, is this the vengeful one? Meaning, like, non-hero compatible. I mean, one thing we could do to really simplify this is make it so that the hero ones, there's no difference between whether the hero does it or the player does it. But I do like the fact that, like, yeah, it pushes you into a build, because if you've got critical heal, and that's healing all units when you do a crit, it just kind of creates... I think that's really cool. And it's just, like, more powerful when you do it. But critical mana... So, like, Vengeful can never be player double. That's kind of what I'm saying. Vengeful can never be player double. Okay. So, in that case, it would be like... Make it so Vengeful... if I do... Yeah, so I could say Vengeful... If it's Vengeful, then player double is off. And then double chance for hero can be added if that sort of remains true. And maybe we just write like specific exceptions for ones like in Vengeful. So let's try that. This keeps opening because it comes up in the find. So when we're writing out our generate artifacts. When we're writing out our description, so what's this? Yeah, if play new artifact dot player double outcome dot player double is true, then new artifact dot descriptions dot add, what do I do? Dot descriptions plus equals plus equals that. So I think these end up with a full stop. So let's assume that they do, but we'd want a space, double chance for hero, if it's double chance for hero. So that way we don't keep it in the descriptions. So double chance. That just gets automatically done from the descriptions. God, I really want to get rid of this. I do have a backup which will have that, but you know what? I'm going to add to the list. I'm going to do a backup today. I'm proper Luddite. I'm doing classic backups where you just manually like put it on a hard drive whenever you feel like it needs a backup. I'm old school. So yeah, if it has that, and then we could say for now, if so if the proc dot names is equal to vengeful names. Let's always do the names without never the actual thing, but the name works. If proc.names is equal to vengeful.names, then don't we can actually put it here. Yeah, proc.names is not equal to vengeful.names. So if it's not vengeful, then we add this description. And then do we need to like modify the power? So vengeful mana, I get 5 mana every time an ally dies, or whatever it is, 3. I get some mana every time an ally dies. But the hero, if it's hero, no, that doesn't apply. So double chance for hero, better outcome for hero doesn't work. So if we look at mana, hero gains 10. I think we just write in the like. I just don't need to think of a too clever way to do this. I can say if so, like vengeful would then doesn't get a benefit from being hero, but like yeah, if hero dies, like if it's vengeful mana, it's not going to work. There's a few ways around this. One is that we make vengeful not compatible with mana, and then vengeful not compatible with heal. I think that's probably the way to do it. That's what I was thinking of earlier. That is the simple way. Vengeful's not compatible with things that hero can do better at. But even those ones are like double chance for hero. To drop a summoner. Well, yeah, this would be double chance for hero as well. But vengeful summon again. Vengeful wouldn't be compatible with the hero effect. So like if it's vengeful, we don't include the hero outcome. But then anytime we're not including the hero outcome, so like vengeful summon, which is like if a unit dies, it might summon another one, which seems a bit redundant, but could work. Vengeful summon, there's no hero summons too. So like each outcome would have like a hero effect and a non-hero effect, and some of the hero effects, if it's, and then there'll be some, so yeah. Some procs should be hero incompatible. Outcomes should have their hero effect and description separate. So yeah, outcomes should have a bool for hero effect. Or yeah, outcomes, yeah, let's just do outcomes should have a separate description for hero outcome, which can be added. but can be interrupted if proc is hero incompatible. If a proc is hero incompatible, don't add hero effect to description and consider boosting chance, consider increasing chance multiplier. Yeah, so Vengeful would just, Vengeful already does have a higher chance multiplier. And then we check, does the outcome, and then artifacts will have a bool hero effect, which, let's call it player effect, I guess, yeah. Which is checked when trying to add an effect. Yeah, so that'll work. And what we'll do is we'll see more of these artifacts, and just each time I see one, I'm going to consider how that's actually going to work, and if it does actually target the right people and so on. And if it's fine, then continue. If it's not fine, then I can make that work. Can I? I think I've compiled too much stuff. So yeah, okay. I think that will do for today. So thanks everyone who joined. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate the support. I think I decided to not stream in the mornings. In the mornings, it's better for me to just do some focused non-streaming work, and then I can, like today, just update you on everything I've done there, and then just as a rule try and do my non-game dev things that I need to do as a father and who has bills to pay. I've got plenty of stuff to do. So yeah, probably no more streaming in the morning. I'll just do a quick catch up at the beginning of each afternoon stream. So I will be back tomorrow afternoon. Look out for the notification there. And yeah, thanks a lot. Cheers. Bye.